I worked 3 jobs to help pay my family's mortgage after Dad lost his job. At a family reunion, I overheard him telling everyone, "Thank God for my sons, they always come through." My name was never mentioned. I took my plate, walked out, and never came back. When the house went into foreclosure, they called me in a panic and I let it ring. I'm not here for sympathy. I don't even know what I want. Maybe it's just that I've held this in too long. Maybe I just need someone to finally hear my side. I don't talk to my family anymore. Haven't in years. But there was a time I would have given anything to feel close to them. I'm the youngest of 4. Only girl. And for as long as I can remember, I was treated like the maid they didn't have to pay. We lived just outside Macon, Georgia. Decent neighborhood. Dad worked hard, Mom stayed home, and my brothers Rick, Caleb, and Marcus ran that house like they owned it. When I was 8, I was folding all the laundry. By 10, I was cooking dinner while my brothers played video games. When I was in high school, I worked part-time at Dairy Queen, and still had to pick up groceries after shifts because Mama's tired and your brothers are busy. I got good at disappearing. Quiet. Helpful. Always there when someone needed something. Nobody noticed unless I didn't do something. I moved out at 21, finally. I got certified as a CNA and moved to Atlanta. Got a 1-bedroom apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I was proud. Still, I came back every other weekend to help Mom with errands or drive her to appointments. I'd bring groceries. Sometimes I'd hand Dad a little cash, just to help with bills. Then in 2017, everything changed. Dad called me late one Thursday night. I remember because I was doing laundry and had just worked a double shift. His voice sounded off. "They let me go," he said. He got laid off after 23 years at the tool company. Downsized. No severance. They gave him a thank you and a box. He was 58, no degree, and had worked the same job since he was in his 20s. I could hear it in his voice, he was scared. I told him I'd help. He didn't even have to ask. That month, I picked up extra shifts. I started working part-time at an urgent care clinic. On weekends, I signed up for DoorDash. I drove around delivering people's tacos and milkshakes until my back ached and my feet went numb. But I made it work. I started sending them $800 a month. Sometimes more. I covered the gas bill twice. Paid the car insurance once when Rick forgot. My brothers? They didn't send a damn thing. Marcus was trying music. Rick said he was working on a startup. Caleb was living with his girlfriend, unemployed but looking. They'd come over to the house and eat Mom's food, use the washer and dryer, then leave. Me? I stayed quiet and kept wiring money. Not once did anyone say thank you. Ever. The worst part? They still talked to me like I was the little kid doing chores. One time, I was late sending the money. I had gotten the flu and missed 3 shifts. My rent was overdue. I called Dad to tell him I'd need a week. "You serious?" he said. "We're counting on that, sweetheart. I can't believe this." He made me feel like I had let them down. I cried. Then I took an extra night shift at the clinic and got the money to them on time. 2 years of this. No birthday calls. No, "How are you doing?" Just, "Can you send it now?" or "We're short this month." By 2020, when COVID hit, I was drowning. I was working 14, sometimes 16-hour days. Covered in PPE. Holding iPads so patients could say goodbye to their families. It was hell. And still, I kept sending money. You'd think someone would have said thank you. Nope. Then came the reunion. August 2021. Aunt Clara's 60th birthday in Augusta. Backyard barbecue. Dad called and begged me to come. "We ain't seen you in forever," he said. Be nice to get the whole family together. So I went. I drove 3 hours. Took 2 unpaid days off. Brought a lemon cake I baked at 2 a.m. the night before. When I got there, my brothers were drinking beers like nothing ever happened. Mom barely looked at me. Nobody asked me how I'd been. They just handed me a paper plate and pointed at the food. I helped clean up the spilled sweet tea. Wiped off a table when the kids dumped chips all over it. Tried to stay busy. At one point, I went inside to grab my purse from the coat room. That's when I heard it. Dad. Talking to his brothers in the dining room. I tell ya, he laughed, I don't know what I'd do without my boys. Rick tried that business thing, it didn't work, but still. Caleb always brings stuff over. And Marcus fixed the bathroom pipe last winter. My sons always come through. My heart stopped. I waited. Maybe he'd say my name next. Maybe he'd mention the money. The jobs. The sacrifices. But he didn't. One uncle asked, "What about your girl?" Dad chuckled. "She's busy. She's doing her thing. The boys handle what matters." That was it. I stood there holding my purse. I felt like I'd been slapped. Not angry, just empty. I walked into the kitchen, picked up my plate, and walked right out the front door. Nobody stopped me. Nobody noticed. The next morning, I blocked everyone. I stopped sending money. Changed my number. Got a new email. Went no contact. A few months later, I found out through a coworker's cousin's small town that the house was being foreclosed. Apparently, Rick had taken out some shady loan tied to the house's equity and defaulted. They were 3 months behind on payments. The bank was coming for it. That week, I got my first email from Caleb in over a year. Subject, "Please call me, message, we need to talk. It's about Dad. Urgent." I didn't answer. 2 days later, the phone rang. It was Dad's number. I let it ring. Then Mom. Then Marcus. One by one, they all tried. I didn't pick up. They lost the house in January. I thought that was it. They lost the house. I was out. Done. I figured they'd scrape by somehow. They always landed on their feet, mostly because someone like me had always been there to catch them. But I underestimated how bad things had really gotten. About 2 months after the foreclosure, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address, just my name written in shaky handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A note from Mom. "I know you're mad. I don't blame you. But I need you to know I didn't know about the second mortgage. Rick never told us until the bank showed up. We're staying in an RV behind Caleb's girlfriend's uncle's place now. It's cold. I miss you. Please call." I sat with that letter in my hand for hours. Read it 5, 6 times. Part of me almost caved. But then I remembered the reunion. The way Dad laughed. The way my name didn't even come up. I didn't call. A week later, someone tried to open a credit card in my name. I got a fraud alert from my bank. Someone had used my name, address, and part of my SSN. They tried applying for 3 different cards. All got flagged. I filed a police report. Got my credit frozen. But I knew where it came from. My heart was racing. I called the fraud department, gave them everything, and the rep asked me, "Do you know who might have had access to this info?" I did. My family. Back when I was still sending money, I had filled out a joint account form to help cover bills faster. I gave Dad some of my info because he claimed it'd help pay through the mortgage company's system. Big mistake. I called Rick directly. I hadn't spoken to him in over a year. He picked up on the second ring, sounding way too calm. "Hey sis," he said, like we were best friends. "Don't call me that, I snapped. Did you try opening credit in my name? A pause. What? No. Why would I do that? You're the only one who had my info. The exact info they used. That was years ago, he said. Maybe you put your stuff somewhere online. I could tell he was lying. He always got this weird flat tone when he was backed into a corner. I swear to God, Rick, I said, voice shaking. If I find out it was you, I'll file charges. He laughed and said, You're still mad about the house. Damn. Thought you were over that. I hung up. I was shaking so bad I had to sit down. That's when I decided I was done being the quiet one. I started digging. I went online, pulled up public court records in Macon County, searched Rick's name. There it was. He'd been sued twice in the past 5 years, once by a payday loan company, once by a former landlord. He lost both cases. He owed money everywhere. Caleb filed bankruptcy. Twice. He and his girlfriend had 3 evictions between them. Marcus was selling junk on Facebook Marketplace, living out of a van. My dad? He'd applied for a few jobs after getting laid off but never stuck with any. He was 62 now. No pension. No savings. And no house. They were all crashing in that RV like a bunch of stranded dogs. And somehow, they thought I would still be the one to bail them out. Then one day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. Next, a voicemail. It was Mom. She sounded weak. Like she'd been crying. I know we messed up. I know you're hurt. But your dad's in the hospital. It's his heart. I didn't know who else to call. We don't have insurance. They won't admit him unless we can cover some of the cost. Please. Just call me. I sat in my car for almost an hour after hearing that. I wanted to feel something. Anger. Guilt. Grief. But all I felt was numb. This was always the pattern. They'd screw up, call me, and expect me to fix it. Every time. So I didn't call. I called the hospital directly instead. Asked about his condition, just to be sure it wasn't a lie. He was there. He'd had a mild heart attack. They were trying to keep him overnight but needed proof of payment. They'd listed me as the emergency contact. I had them remove me from the file. That night, Caleb sent me a text from a new number, "Hope you're happy. Dad could have died. You think you're better than us now? You're not. You're nothing without this family." I blocked the number. A week later, Marcus posted a video on Facebook calling me out by name. He ranted about family betrayal and how some people forget where they come from. It got like 20 views. But I saw it. My friends sent it to me. I didn't reply. Then came the final straw. I was at work, middle of a long overnight shift, when HR called me in. Someone had reported me for financial misconduct. Turned out someone had called pretending to be a loan officer. Claimed I had outstanding debts I hadn't disclosed. Tried to get my employment records. The call got flagged and HR checked in with me. They couldn't prove who it was, but I knew. It was them. Again. I sat in the HR office, trying not to shake. My manager, Dana, looked at me with that mix of concern and quiet judgment that makes your stomach twist. "We know it wasn't you," she said. "But this kind of thing makes us nervous. You're a great worker. Just handle whatever this is." I nodded. I smiled. I thanked her. Then I went to the break room, sat on the floor, and stared at the wall until my next round started. I wasn't mad. I wasn't sad. I was done. That week, I went home and changed every password I had. Locked my credit again. Called the bank and told them to flag anything suspicious. But something was still bothering me. Why now? They'd already tried guilt. Already tried stealing. Already tried fake sympathy. Why go this far? That's when it clicked. They weren't just desperate. They were planning something. I called an old coworker of mine, Andrea. She used to live in Macon, still had a cousin working at a law firm that handled property disputes and probate. I told her I needed a favor. 3 days later, I got the answer. Rick had filed a petition to sue for a portion of our grandparents' land, the land that technically passed to Mom, then was never settled legally when Grandma died. It was left in legal limbo for years. And now? They were trying to claim it and put my name on it so they could sell it and split the payout. Problem? They forged my signature on the paperwork. I saw the scanned doc. My name was there. Sloppy handwriting, but close enough that someone might believe it if they didn't look too hard. They were trying to sell land that didn't fully belong to them, using me to make it look legit. I called the county clerk's office and requested a full copy. Then I called a lawyer. She took one look and said, "You need to press charges." I hesitated. "Their family," I said. She just raised an eyebrow. "They forged your name on a land deal involving tens of thousands of dollars." That was it. I filed a formal affidavit, had the documents reviewed, and the deal froze. A hearing was scheduled. Rick was served 2 weeks later. Suddenly, everything got quiet. No calls. No voicemails. No texts. Then one night, I got a message on Facebook. From Marcus's girlfriend. "They're saying you're trying to steal the land from your own mother. Everyone's talking about it. You should be ashamed." That message? That was fuel. Because I'd paid for that house when nobody else would. I'd worked until I couldn't see straight. They used me, forgot me, and then blamed me. And now? Now they wanted to sell land that didn't even fully belong to them and frame me as the greedy one. I flew back to Georgia for the hearing. Walked into that small courtroom in a black suit with copies of every wire transfer I'd made to my parents. Bank records. Emails. The fraud alert report. The forged document with my name. They were all sitting there, Dad, looking smaller than I remembered. Rick, arms crossed, fake smug. Caleb and Marcus whispering to each other. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. When I walked past them to take my seat up front, Rick said under his breath, "Traitor." I didn't flinch. I gave my statement. Showed everything. Explained the signature forgery. The judge didn't take long. He froze the sale. Opened a fraud investigation. And told them if they wanted to fight the will and land ownership, they'd have to do it legally without forged documents and fake signatures. When we stepped out into the hallway after, Mom ran after me. "I didn't know they did that," she said, voice low. "I didn't sign anything." I just looked at her. "You let them. That's the same thing." She reached for my arm. "Don't do this to us." I pulled back. "You already did," I said. After that hearing, I flew back to Nashville and tried to put it behind me. But things weren't quiet for long. A few weeks later, I got a letter from the court. Rick was under investigation for fraud. They'd matched the signature on my forged documents with other files he'd signed in the past. It was sloppy, rushed. And when they pulled up his email records, they found something worse. He had emailed a copy of the forged land transfer to a private buyer trying to sell the land under the table before the court could step in. He even told the buyer, "My sister's on board, just don't contact her directly, she's a nurse, busy all the time." He was charged with attempted fraud and forgery. He took a plea deal. Got 3 years probation, community service, and a permanent mark on his record. But that was just the beginning. See, what Rick didn't know was that the land couldn't legally be sold at all without a probate hearing that had never happened. And when the court pulled that string, the whole family's dirty laundry came tumbling out. Turns out Caleb had also claimed income from that same land on a loan application to avoid eviction. The state flagged it as fraudulent. Marcus? He'd been using a fake business address on food stamp paperwork tied to the same property. He got caught too. They weren't just shady. They were dumb about it. The state launched a small investigation into the property's entire history, and suddenly my whole family was facing legal headaches they couldn't afford. As for my parents, the fraud case sparked an audit on Dad's taxes going back 5 years. Guess what the IRS found? Undeclared money transfers. The payments I'd been sending to help weren't declared. He'd claimed unemployment and emergency relief but left out the thousands I sent each year. That counted as support income. They hit him with back taxes and a penalty. Mom called me sobbing. "We're gonna lose the trailer," she cried. I said nothing. Just listened. Then hung up. By the end of that year, Rick was living in a halfway house. Caleb was crashing on someone's couch. Marcus's van got repossessed. And my parents? They had to leave the RV and move in with a cousin they hadn't spoken to in 10 years. Last I heard, that cousin kicked them out too. The family that used to act like I didn't matter? Now they were scattering like rats. But here's the part one haven't told anyone until now. After the hearing, I started therapy. I didn't just need to heal from what they did, I had to face my part in all of it too. I let them use me. I chased their love. I kept thinking if I gave enough, helped enough, sacrificed enough, they'd see me. But they didn't. And it wasn't just their fault. It was mine, too, for believing I could earn something that should have been given freely. So I made peace with it. Then I did one last thing. I took all my wire transfer receipts, my bank records, my hospital pay stubs, and I submitted a formal claim on the land. Not to sell it. Not to profit. To block anyone from touching it again. The court awarded me legal claim as the sole conservator of the land, since I had contributed financially to its maintenance for more than 2 years, and no one else had. I didn't sell it. I donated it. To a local conservation nonprofit. They turned it into a protected nature trail. Public land. No buildings. No profit. Just something quiet and peaceful that nobody in my family can touch ever again. A few months later, I got one last letter from Dad. His handwriting was barely legible. "You win. Hope it was worth it." I burned the letter. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. I'm not angry anymore. I don't miss them. I just finally understand what peace feels like. And they finally understand what happens when you forget the one person who never forgot you. I was their safety net. Now they're falling without one.